I'm Melinda with evolvedfarming.com here at Squibwych Farms, and today we're going to be butchering some Drake Peking ducks and some roosters, mixed roosters from our own flock. We're doing this the Saturday before Thanksgiving so we can have some duck for Thanksgiving and have them ready for Christmas duck. And let's get to it. So here at Squibwych Farms, we have a philosophy. One is that all of our animals should have a great life, and if we're using them for meat or for any other purpose after their life, they should have just a bad moment. And I'm borrowing that quote from someone, and I wish I could give the quote proper reference, and I can't, but great life, bad moment. Now, second to that, we also have a no means no philosophy. Now, ducks are a little bit violent when it comes to breeding, so you have to have a little bit different measures for that. But chickens, a good rooster will find food for the hens and let them know, watch out for predators like hawks and let them know and guard them, and will do a little courting dance when it's time for the little love making time. But some roosters aren't good at that. And so we have a no means no philosophy when we're calling our roosters. So we look for roosters that are good body type, have good conformation, but really the critical factor for being a rooster that stays here with the hens is that they do the little courting dance and they get that no means no. So this rooster that has the blonde cape right here, he's a very rapey rooster. So he's first in line. No means no. So when I carry him to the cone, usually I tell the birds, any bird I'm going to butcher, thank you so much for being part of our life. Thank you, God, for letting this animal be part of our life. And we're going to take care of you, but you feel a big pinch, go to the light. With this rooster, it's more like big pinch, you're going to hell, where you're going to find out that no means effing no. Now, I know that seems petty and childish on my part, but it's just something I like to do here. So no means no. Now, we have other roosters. They're on, ironically, oh no, it's not beside him, it's right here. We have a young child that lives here some of the time, and his name is Grayson. And this rooster keeps going after Grayson. Now, that can be kind of, they're trying to be protective or whatever, but we have a zero tolerance for roosters that go after kids, or actually any humans. So he's getting me today for the same reason. But again, he's second in line to rapey rooster. It's just a thing. No means no. All right, so when you hang a rooster upside down, or any chicken upside down, the blood rushes to their head and they tend to go docile. I always used to kind of pick them up and hug them, but what I found is that the chicken is actually calmer and happier if you don't do that. So I like to kind of cradle them and carry them along and tell them they're good roosters or good chickens. In this case, he's not a good rooster or a good chicken. But it doesn't actually do the bird a favor to do that. So I'm trying to remind myself to carry them by the feet. So even though I don't like this guy, I'm still doing it the most humane way I can. But I am going to tell him that he's probably going to hell. When I butcher a chicken, I do things a little bit differently. I read, and I don't know how true it is, I've never done a study on brain waves of the chicken, but I go in through the beak and I take out the brain with a quick sideways slash up through the brain. I feel that way the bird is out of it when the killing takes place. So I go in and then slice out the brain, and then I cut the throat to do the bleed out into the bucket. I feel that that's a little more humane, and it still allows the bleed out and all the things that you do want from the chicken when you're butchering them. So this is Mr. Rapey McRape. And I've removed some feathers from his neck, which is where they have some really beautiful feathers, and from his saddle, because there is a bit of a market for those. It depends on where you're at. And they're just beautiful. He was really a beautiful bird. It's too bad he wasn't nice to the hens. So I'm gonna keep her. Now we're gonna scald him. This releases the feathers and makes it easier to pluck. With chickens, we're looking for about 140, 150 range of the scald water. For ducks, we had to go higher. It's really hard to get duck feathers off. Chickens are a little bit easier. Again, we have soap in this water. That is to help penetrate into the feathers. Nowhere near the difficulty with chickens as it is with ducks. But you still need to get that water against the skin for those feathers to release. Alexa, set timer for 1 minute.
1 minute, starting now.
You can see we use the Alexa timer for convenience. And then I'm swishying him. That's the technical term, swishying, to make sure that, again, the water is contacting the skin. That's the big thing, is we want that water to contact the skin so those feathers will release in our plucker. This really was a beautiful bird. I really do feel a little bit badly. Now we have a bird that looks very similar to him that is in our 3 ranges into our back of our pasture. I always see him back there. He's with a barred rock rooster. They seem to have a friendship that we won't question. But he is a very good rooster, and he has lots of alerts when there's predators and hawks and stuff. He gets along well with our Great Pyrenees dogs, so he gets to stay. Now, next spring, if he's not breeding the hens, he might go into the freezer, but it'll be reluctantly. Right now, the fact that he has a bromance with one of our other roosters is just fine. We don't need any other breeders this time of year, so we're good. And we'll see how he does in the spring. That's our timer going off. I'm gonna take this guy out. Oops. And drain off a little bit. And into the... So we have butchered ducks in the past and had, moderate success. But before we did these guys today, we did watch the Abundance Plus duck butchering video and learned a few things. One of them was that you're not going to have a perfect scald and you're not going to have a perfect carcass. So that helps us compromise some. The other thing that we learned was a better way to open the cavity to eviscerate them. So we're kind of excited to see if that helps things go faster, since it takes longer to get the feathers off. We might be able to save some time in the evisceration process. This plucking the final feathers is very boring to watch, but here you get an idea for what's involved even after a pretty hot scald for a full minute. The really small downy ones will just come off when you cook them, so you don't have to worry about all of them. But all right, so now we'll go to the evisceration table. So we have poultry or stainless steel shears, another set of couple sets of kitchen shears, a steel to keep our knife sharp, and an actual sharpener also, because there's nothing worse than using a dull knife. Normally I'd have several boning knives, but we're only doing about a dozen birds today, so we don't need to have quite as much as normal.
What's on this end of the table?
So on this end of the table, I have my ice here, where I'll put all of my things I'm keeping, like livers, heart, gizzards, things like that will go in this water bath. This is just soapy water to wash my hands, and this is the garbage container, which will probably go to the dogs. So you can see a ton of fat on the skin, which is with ducks, that's just gold. And then you can take it off, I say, like a t-shirt. So we're going to save this. We're going to pull off the head. This will go and become dog food. You'll take off the feet, just like you would with a chicken.
This is one of the first rules you taught me, is nothing goes to waste on the farm.
Nothing goes to waste on the farm. For now, I'll keep this.
Something feeds something else.
going to pull additional feathers. With chickens and stuff, normally they will pluck clean out of the plucking machine. Even hand plucking chickens isn't bad, but here we're still seeing a lot of feathers. And we're not going to spend too much time on these because the little ones won't matter. They'll come off and clean and cooking. You can always do a final one prep on the bird when you are cooking too. So now we're going to take the neck off. The hardest part for me with the neck is to remember to go back far enough. So I'm looking for where it actually meets the spine. And to keep your knife from getting dull, you want to go between the vertebrae. I am not as strong as I would like to be on this. So yeah, we were going to harvest turkeys this year, but we lost our tom turkey early in the season. They were commercial type birds, even though they're heritage. They still got so large that it's hard to keep them alive. The breeds outgrow their hearts. So we never had a tom to breed our turkeys this year. So we ended up with just one hen surviving. Of course, all of her eggs were not fertilized. So no turkeys this year for Thanksgiving. Next year we're going to start out with a new turkey flock. Basically a smaller breed. By the way, this piece right here is the quacker. Comes off of the trachea. It's very specific to ducks. We had raccoons that were coming and taking out our turkey population and from their roosting in the trees. So that our turkeys were roosting in an apple tree, and that makes them much more susceptible to prey. So they were taken out by raccoons that were able to come in on the side of the fence that doesn't have livestock guardian dogs. Nice size heart. Right now I'm going in and taking out the lung tissue, which is also kind of tricky to get out of a bird. It just makes the carcass a little bit cleaner though when you're...
I think we were at Homesteaders of America this year, and did we not come across a lung scraper?
We did.
I think you're wishing we would have bought that now.
Yes, I am. I was talking about how handy those are. All right, so the last step I do is I empty the gizzard before I put it in with the rest of the... You can always kind of see what they're getting the natural stone. These guys have had some brain to bait them in to catch them today. So here you can see we already got a lot of extra off this bird before we even really declare the bird cleaned. All right, so this is our carcass. Now we're going to take this, I'm going to put it in an ice bath, which is cold out, so it's actually not an ice bath, it's a cold water bath. This is a food grade garbage can that we've washed out today with bleach and water. And then we'll put this in here and that will bring the chill. Oh, I forgot to take the scent gland off the back.
Why do you remove the scent gland?
The oil gland or the scent gland can have a very strong taste to it. Kind of a greasy grossness. And I just hit a bunch of bone when I was doing it, which is never good for your knife, but dogs will like it. We won't. Dogs will probably want to roll in that. All right, so here's our first completed duck in our cold water bath. Harvest day is done here at Squibwych Farms. So we have 6 drake ducks and 5 roosters, 2 of which are 2-year-olds, so those would be like crock pot or pressure cooker chickens. But nonetheless, some nice fresh meat going into our freezer today.